I arrived in Belarus with very little money in my pocket. I was very happy to be free and, on the other hand, I didn't know what to do. I only knew one thing: I could not go back to Moldova. I chose the third solution: to try again to seek political asylum in another European country. For 3 weeks while I was in Belarus, I was helped by Jehovah's Witnesses. I didn't have the money to rent a hotel room or even rent a room in an apartment. Then in 2011, Jehovah's Witnesses didn't have a place to pray like the Orthodox or Catholic Church. The Belarusian authorities forbade them to rent a place to pray and they met in apartments to pray. In my opinion, Jehovah's Witnesses are the fairest people I have ever met. They don't do politics at all, no matter what country they're in, including Belarus. They were persecuted in the interwar and post-war period, and during the Holocaust, the Nazis also persecuted them. If Jews had no chance of survival, Jehovah's Witnesses who were persecuted by Hitler's regime could be freed if they renounced their religion, but the vast majority did not renounce their religion. I believe that regardless of religion all Belarusians are good people, but I admit that Jehovah's Witnesses knew that I was political and they risked their lives because the Belarusian authorities also knew that I was deported from Poland. Because the Poles themselves contacted the Belarusian embassy in Poland, and for the Belarusians it was enough to write on Google, Plop Andrei, and all the documentaries about how Andrei Plop participated in the anti-communist protest appeared. I repeat again, for the Belarusian authorities, I have never made politics against the Belarusian regime, and please do not be misled even by the Russians or other states that I made politics in Belarus. I am grateful to all Belarusians who helped me. With the money I had, I bought a ticket from Moscow to Casablanca, with a stop in London. The idea was that once I got to London to seek political asylum. In Belarus I was sitting without registration. There is no border control between Russia and Belarus, and it's a kind of Schengen between them. In autumn 2011 there is no control at the Belarusian border with Russia. I bought a bus ticket and crossed the border without any problems. I spent only 2 days in Moscow, one of which I slept in an internet cafe and the other at the airport. I also had a history that if Russians ask me what my purpose in Morocco is, I will answer that I will marry a Moroccan girl I met in Poland. I talked to my sister about the situation and asked her to buy an Estonian phone number from SIM Travel, which works everywhere and is sold in Moldova. And her role was that if someone would call her from Russia, she had to speak English as a future wife. I was second in line. In front of me was a blonde Russian woman in a very long red and yellow dress. The story I had prepared, when she started checking in, the Russian woman told the same story I had prepared. I realized that they already knew everything. I was not prepared for such a scenario. I didn't have a plan B. Even if they called on the phone on my wife, a question in Arabic and everything comes out. Because my sister doesn't speak Arabic. I was very tired after my experience in Germany and Poland, and now I was also in a difficult situation. The question I asked myself: how the hell did they find out? The only thing I could think of was that they could have tapped my sister's phone, or my sister reported it to the FSB branch in Moldova. Because the Jehovah's Witnesses didn't know about the wedding, and from Minsk I went to Moscow alone. I went back to Minsk to the Jehovah's Witnesses. I tried to open a visa at the Romanian embassy in Minsk. When I went to the embassy, the ambassador asked me questions, and this time I didn't say anything to my sister. The ambassador saw that I didn't have a Polish visa, and then in autumn 2011 there was still no visa-free travel for Moldovan citizens in the European Union for 90 days a year, but there was an entry stamp in Poland and another exit stamp, and the ambassador asked me, "How did you enter Poland?" Andrei Plop, I was a volunteer at Caritas and I had an invitation from the Vatican, so I didn't need a visa, and when I left Poland I gave the document in Warsaw Airport. I also had a letter of recommendation from Caritas Poland, and it was to apply to study in Poland. but it was in Polish and the Romanian ambassador didn't know Polish. Ambassador, why don't you open a visa in Chisinau? Andrei Plop, I am here in Minsk, at the wedding of a friend from Belarus, and the wedding will be on Saturday, and next week is St. Andrew's Day in Romania, and I am a very religious person and I decided to visit St. Andrew's Church in Iași, and if I try to open the visa in Moldova, I just don't succeed. I had made an online hotel reservation in Romania. The ambassador checked the reservation and gave me the Romanian visa. Now there was another problem for me. How to leave Belarus legally, as I have no registration and I stayed in Belarus for 3 weeks. The Belarusian authorities knew exactly that I was deported from Poland to Belarus because the Poles themselves asked for permission from the Belarusian embassy in Warsaw. After I stayed illegally in Belarus for 3 weeks, the Belarusians had the right to arrest me, and the first question was, where did you stay for 3 weeks? And I stayed in the apartments of Jehovah's Witnesses. The Jehovah's Witnesses were in trouble as it was, and I was going to cause them more trouble. I also had a Romanian visa in my passport, which was opened in Minsk. Considering that the security service in Belarus is still called KGB even after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Even the Russians changed the name from KGB to FSB, and the Belarusians did not change the name of the KGB either and returned to the Soviet flag Belarus. If I tried to cross the Belarus-Ukraine border directly, I would be arrested by the Belarus KGB and interrogated until they pulled out your teeth or fingernails. I once left Belarus without border control when I went to Russia. Because of this I got the idea to leave Belarus again by the same route. I bought a ticket from Minsk to Moscow, and in Moscow I bought a train ticket to Kiev. When I reached the border of Russia with Ukraine, the Russians asked me to show them my registration, but I told them that I just arrived in Russia today and I can stay 3 days in Russia without registration, and I also had the ticket bought Minsk-Moscow. The Russians asked for my registration from Belarus, but I told them that the registration remained in Belarus. I didn't think you needed it. At the customs in Ukraine, the Ukrainian customs officer wanted money from me and kept shouting at me that he would deport me, that he would arrest me, but I really wasn't afraid of him even though he was shouting at me. I knew he wanted me to give them a bribe and I said, arrest me, deport me. After the scandal, he put a stamp in my passport. At that time there were many Moldovan citizens working in Russia, and when Moldovans came back from Russia by train, they had to pass through Ukraine and Ukrainian customs officers asked for bribes from Moldovans. From Kiev I bought a train ticket to Chernivtsi/Cernăuți. In Chernivtsi/Cernăuți I crossed the border with Romania, and in Bucharest I asked for political asylum. All the bus tickets from Minsk to Moscow, from the train, including the ticket I bought to get from Moscow to Casablanca with a stopover in London, I presented to the Romanian authorities. In December 2011 I applied for political asylum in Romania, and in winter 2012 I already received a negative answer from the Romanian Immigration Office to my refugee status and I went to court. Also in 2012 I submitted documents for Romanian citizenship. It is possible that Moldovan citizens who had grandparents or parents and were born between 1918 and 1940, when Moldova was part of Greater Romania, can obtain Romanian citizenship. When I went to court, I put additional documents that were hidden by the Romanian Immigration Office, and the funny thing is that I had proof from them that I submitted the documents, and I also filed a criminal complaint. From the court they gave me again a negative decision on my refugee status, and that was in 2013. I could have appealed, but I had obtained the Romanian citizenship in the meantime. Also in 2012 I submitted the documents to study at the Faculty of Law. I was very happy when I was admitted to law school at the Romanian American University, and in the fall of 2012, I was still an asylum seeker. Later I obtained Romanian citizenship in 2013. In the summer of 2013 I went to a training in Micaseni in Romania, where also for almost 2 weeks young people from several countries participated. In 2013 I was admitted to the master's degree in International Relations and European Integration at the master's degree in Conflict Analysis and Resolution at TINSPA. In the summer of 2013 I went to Cyprus and worked in a nightclub as a security guard. I worked only almost 2 months to pay my university fees in Romania, because I was studying at 2 universities at the same time and I was also paying fees at both universities.